He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
I hope you're having a great day. Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi a better place to live, work, and play. You know, we've been spending a lot of time talking about the pandemic and its impact here in coastal Mississippi. And as you know, my show, Coast Vue, was really focused in the beginning, before the pandemic, one person for 1 hour so that we could get to know the person behind the public face, learn a lot about what made them successful, how do they think. And you know, it's interesting, even though we're still talking about the pandemic, the people that we're talking to on the front line, it could be a CEO, a nonprofit leader, a mayor, it could be, you know, someone working as a first responder, that they're all successful in their own right. And what they're telling us is an incredible message about how to overcome adversity. You know, I was thinking about my son the other day, Jordan and I, we were fishing, and we were fishing for redfish, something we do a lot this time of year. And I was throwing, the way red fishing works is you throw your lure as close to the marsh as possible as the tide is rising, because essentially what that does is it gets near where the redfish are. They're either along the edges of the marsh or they're actually inside the marsh. Then you reel back slowly toward your boat. And we cast over and over again, 2 inches from the marsh, reel back in, 2 inches from the marsh. And we do this over and over again. I turned toward Jordan. I said, you know, Jordan, how do we teach someone how to do this? And his answer to me was 10,000 hours. I thought, wow, that's a great answer, because what he's referring to is the Malcolm Gladwell book, Outliers, the Story of Success, where it was actually, there was a study done in Berlin at the Academy of Berlin on violinists and what it took to master being a violinist. I might add that Inc. magazine later said it wasn't 10,000 hours. That was actually the average. It really took 25,000 hours in some case to master. But to be a great, you know, athlete, to be, you know, someone who does a podcast radio show like I'm doing in this new gig, you got to put the hours in to master it. And one of the things that we're learning from all of our guests and their various ways of success is some amazing lessons from them, even in the midst of this pandemic. I would actually say in the midst of this pandemic, we're learning what leadership is all about, the ability to overcome adversity. Now, yesterday we had Anthony Wilson from the Power Company and Robert St. John, who is just an incredible restaurant entrepreneur. He's written a bunch of books. You might have seen him on PBS on his TV show. But he has something really powerful to share with us that I want to share with you now about, it's a kind of a closing thought about where we are. Kyle, you want to play that for me?
You know, I would just encourage people to live in the solution. That's what we need to focus on. There's a lot going on. Again, we're in uncharted waters. We are much better off looking forward into the windshield, into the front windshield, and live in the solution. And eventually the problems will be in the rearview mirror and they'll be behind us. So we just can't, psychologically, we've got to be strong. And I have no doubt that Mississippi is up to this task, because as we saw after Katrina, I think we're going to see after this. Now, this wasn't a physical devastation. It was more of a health crisis. Our economy was, the best economy in the history of the world when this happened nationwide. So we're going to do our best on this commission and with other Mississippians to bring us back. But the way to do that is to live in the solution.
I think that is such a great statement that Robert made. In fact, I called him this morning to say, after I re-listened to the show, that it was just powerful advice. And it reminded me that we're learning from all of these leaders that we're talking to, all of these people on the front line, that one of the keys to success in life, one of the keys to being a great leader, one of the keys to being passionate about your community is the ability to overcome adversity. And frankly, we know in South Mississippi what it's like to overcome adversity. We have resiliency in our DNA. We've got two great guests today. In the second half of the show, we're talking with David Delk from ABC Rental, who's had an incredible little theater career. You've known him. He's been kind of a famous singer on the coast, but he's got a successful business, is going through challenges, and we'll talk to him about that. And in the first part of the show, we have Brandon Elliott from Elliott Homes. And let me tell you a little bit about Brandon. You know, he came to coastal Mississippi by way of hockey. of all things. He was drafted in 2004 by the Tampa Bay Lightning, the NHL, and he played in 5 different leagues from Ontario to the Mississippi Seawolves. He's had an interesting career, but what's great about what Brandon has done, he came here at the age of 25. He retired from hockey, started building his own business, built one house. He quickly realized that it wasn't about home building that he was aspiring to do. It was really about developing people, and he was really in the people business. Last year, he built nearly 270 homes, and he's just at the right young age now of 36 years old. So it's incredible that Brandon's achieved the success he has. He's got challenges today, just like everybody else. But it's going to be a great conversation. Brandon, it's good to see you again, buddy.
Yeah, great to see you. I appreciate you having me today. Thank you.
So what was your impression when you heard what Robert St. John had to say just now? What did that make you think of?
Good leadership. I mean, when we're dealing with adversity, the one thing about a crisis is in all crisis, leaders will emerge. And so we have to step up, not we, but everyone has to step up and find solutions to current situations and stay agile to the changing times, every hour. It's amazing.
Well, Haley Barbour often said after Katrina that the Katrina did not create character, it revealed character. And, we are really resilient people here in coastal Mississippi, and we know how to get through times like this. It's a strange place that we're in. And as I've said so many times on the show, until someone, there's not going to be a moment when someone raises white flag and says it's okay to go back to normal. We're going to have to live in a weird kind of environment until we get a vaccine. That's just the reality. But I think we can do it. We can find our new normal as we begin to continue to protect ourselves and our family. We continue to bring the number of daily reported cases down. That's really important, so we can begin to move through the phases of opening back up our economy. But, we'll get into all that. I know it's had an impact on your business. You've done some things to adjust, and I want to share that. But why don't we take just a second and tell us about your journey from Canada to Mississippi?
Wow, it was a very painful one. But I actually had somebody ask me just the other day, what does it take to get into home building and become a developer? And my response to them was, a lot of experience, a lot of pain, and a lot of failure. And, that's the same thing for whatever we do. I told him the way I did it was not the way I would recommend it, because it's very stressful and very costly. But it's definitely the best way. So basically what I did was I came here on a contract with Tampa Bay Lightning. I was with the Seawolves for a short time, 3 or 4 months, and then retired and started building homes. And my first home, I had to ask the trades that I was hiring how to build it, basically. What an anchor bolt was, what a ridge was, and how to be structural. At that point, my goal was to be the best home builder ever. And so I did a lot of training and schooling on learning how to be more structural and understand engineering and understand, concrete PSI and finishes and all that sort of thing to build the best single home. And so about 6 years of pain, and very complicated business, financial issues. I mean, you name it. We went through it all. I learned that I was looking at it completely wrong. And in a crisis like today, we learn that we're looking at things completely wrong. And so we have to train our minds to look at our situations from a completely different paradigm other than our own. And so what I did was, at that point, I said, I'm trying to build houses. I need to stop building houses and start building people who will then build houses. And so, go ahead.
So let's do this. Before you get into this part of the story, we're getting close to the end of our segment together. But I do believe that there's a lot to learn about how to overcome adversity, even when there's not a pandemic. I mean, you just said it. For 6 years, you smile, but I can't imagine the pain that you were going through as you were learning all these hard lessons. And so it's not something that happened overnight. You put your 10,000 hours in probably more in more ways than one. So why don't we do this? When we come back from the break, we'll pick it up from there. What did you learn about what it is to build people? And we'll continue the conversation. This is Brandon Elliott from Elliott Homes, and we'll be back after this break.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We've got Brandon Elliott here from Elliott Homes. And when we were having a conversation about, he learned early in his life, after about 6 years of, trial and error, that there was going to be a big awakening, that he's not in the home building business, he's in the people building business. And it was kind of, let's just continue that conversation, Brandon. Why don't you pick it up from there?
So one of the biggest takeaways from that was, leaders are learners. And, as leaders, we need to put ourselves in a position to learn more and faster than anyone else if we want to stay ahead of the trends and try to lead people through things like, crisis that we're facing today. And so I changed my learning goals from being the best home builder to focus on being the best people builder and understanding how to listen 10 times more than I talk, and how to grow other leaders instead of trying to lead them. And that was the hinge point for Elliott Homes to go from being call it a mom and pop company with just my wife and I installing floors and putting in cabinets and trim to start to become a real business and to make real impact on the coast and on the world. And so that transition took place around 2016. And today, I'll tell you, the biggest achievement that I've made in my lifetime has by far been the culture that we've created at Elliott Homes. The people that we have are outstanding. And they I always tell people, you hear people say, don't take it so personally. I tell them, thank you for taking it so personally, because it means that what you're doing, you're passionate about. And take it personally and own it and make it the best. And things done in moderation are a waste of time. So if you're going to do it all out.
So you're into home building, you're into lot development, you've got some other stuff that's happening as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
So we've really we look at the industry not as how can we build another home. It's how can we build a lifestyle for people, and it's a constant evolving thing. We're learning every day. Elliott Homes is a learning culture, and so everybody here is constantly seeking to improve, and they're constantly trying to find ways to build a lifestyle for people, and that doesn't just mean a home that they're living in. It's also the surrounding neighbors. The things we do impact everybody. And so what amenities do they want in their communities, and how does it help them? So one of the things that we really look for highly in our values within Elliott Homes is seeking to create real value for other people, not just what we think they want. And so during this crisis, I told them when it started, leaders are going to emerge during this because it is the opportunity for leaders to step up and help, like you said earlier, and be solution minded toward things. So they started asking our homeowners and people, what are your biggest stress points? What's causing you concern today? And a home is one of the biggest purchases most people will make in their life. And so ultimately, the job market is a concern. Do they have their jobs or mortgage payments and all that sort of thing? So they came back to me and they said, Brandon, we're building these houses for homeowners, and our goal is to give them a life experience that is better tomorrow than it is today. And how can we do that when we're giving them the very thing that they're the most nervous about? And so I said, okay, what's the solution to it? And they came back to me and they said, we need a way to ensure that their mortgage payments are paid should they lose their job. And I was really touched by it. It really it showed me the type of people that we have. and they're working nights and they're working weekends and they're trying to figure out this. And within 48 hours, they came up with a buyer assurance program. They spoke with banks, figured it all out, got it rolled out, created an amazing video. And it's not just for new home owners either. It's for existing ones. And they said, we're giving a house and people have moved in and all they can think about is, I hope I don't lose my job. And that is totally against the purpose of Elliott Homes, which is creating a place where life gets better.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's incredible, Brandon. So how have you communicated that?
I'm sorry?
How have you communicated that?
So we created a video to send that out. And thank you for saying the word communication. In a crisis, communication becomes the most important thing, because when things used to change once a month, now they literally change every hour. I mean, it is like unbelievable. So our team, we have daily huddles every single day. Every single person in Elliott Homes has a 20-minute meeting every day with their department, and we talk about how it's going. We talk about ways we can improve it, what people need, how we can help the recovery. And so they look at things in a different aspect, rather than how do we build another house, to how do we make the Gulf Coast a strong quality of life and a fast recovery. And so they came up with this video. It was called the Buyer Assurance Program video, and they posted it on social media. They sent our existing homeowners and new home buyers copies of it to let them know that we're here. And they constantly reach out to let them know, you don't need to worry right now. Conflict builds character and crisis defines it. In a time when stress and anxiety is high, we can use it as a stepping stone to improve our character and become better in any situation, or we can let it ruin us. And don't let these times ruin one of the greatest experiences that most people have in their life, which is getting to move into a brand new home.
Wow, that's such an incredible program, and it's just an example of, when you face adversity as a business, this is a real opportunity to make an incredible impression about whether you mean it when you talk about the culture of your company, whether you really mean it. Is that going to be what plays out? I've experienced that at the Sun Herald after Katrina, watching our company go. I mean, it was unbelievable watching our employees rebuild our company and form the community and do the things that needed to be done. We've seen it over and over again in our community, the way people have come together. You mentioned about leadership, and this is the time for leadership to step forward. I wrote a book of lessons that I didn't publish, but it's a great book of lessons that I look back on often about what are the things we learned from Katrina. Lesson number one is love your family. That's certainly, we're all learning that from this situation. But the other one is, don't judge a book by its cover. And the meaning of this particular lesson was about leadership, that people who were self-promoters and type A personalities, you sort of expected them to step up. Some did, but some didn't. And there were type B personalities that were really effective people that you were moving too fast in your life to even notice. And suddenly they emerged in ways that you would have never expected them to. So the learning essentially was this, that we move through life too fast sometimes. We don't stop long enough to understand the essence of others. And by not stopping to understand the essence of others, we learn the gifts that some of them have to provide us. Now, it takes a disaster sometimes for us to see that. Okay, that's unfortunate. But it is true that these moments create an opportunity for people to step up and remind us why we move too fast and sometimes don't take enough time to understand who each other is. You see that, don't you?
Yeah. So, and I was smiling at that. You said the word crisis, and I was still smiling because, I see it as such an unbelievable opportunity for so many people to really step up and show who they are. And like you said, our personality doesn't determine how we're going to handle this. There's a lot of people that talk a lot and deliver very little. We call them anchors in our culture. But one of the biggest things that happen in a crisis, we are forced to look at the situation from a different paradigm, from somebody else's perspective. And that is the most powerful lesson for people to learn, to go into a situation and take their preconceived experiences, anything that they think this is supposed to be, and totally get rid of it and say, I don't have the answers. I'm here to learn. And how do I make this situation better? And so when you give that to a person, you can explain that to them all day and it doesn't help. When they experience it and they go into a situation they're 100% sure they know how to fix, and then they go in and learn that they were wrong. Wow, what a hinge point that is for somebody's life. It is a very powerful moment for them to say, to humble themselves and become a leader and start to feel what the execution of that looks like, because that paradigm, that mental thinking creates results.
My son Justin works for Price Waterhouse in New York, and my other two kids work here. One's a teacher, Tori Williams, and then my son Jordan is a real estate lawyer here on the coast. But Justin works for Price Waterhouse, and he's been here at the house now for 5 or 6 weeks. This morning I turned to him. We kind of get up early, both of us, and he was reading. I said, "What are you reading, Justin?" And it was a book about empathy. And he was reading a book about empathy, and that's what you're talking about. It's not just. It's so much more than just treating someone else the way you want to be treated. It's treating them the way they need to be treated. So in order to do that, you got to understand them first. And so people have to take the time. Sometimes empathy can't be taught, but often it can be. But people have to be willing to receive the message. Brandon, we're getting to the end of our time together. This has been such a great conversation. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this. We'll come back again in about 2 or 3 weeks and touch base with you and see how things are going, see how your program is going, see how your business is going. I'd like to talk to you more about adjustments you've had to make in your day-to-day activities of your business, but we don't have time to do that today. But it would be great to have that in the future. So thank you very much. I appreciate you, buddy.
Likewise. Thanks very much.
Okay, have a great day. We'll be back after this break with David Delk.
Listen live or on demand and watch episodes of Coast Vue on your laptop, desktop, or on your phone or tablet by going to supertalkmsgulfcoast.com.